Hello children, this is the video about the alternation of generation in bryophytes. As we know, these are the lower plants, and so a very simple plant body structure. And in bryophytes, actually the life is represented by the two phases, that is the gametophytic phase and the sporophytic phase. It is not about in the bryophytes, but in you will see in the pteridophytes and the gymnosperm or the angiosperms also the two stages will be there, though they are represented. Their structure may vary when one stage may be more evolved, another is less evolved, like that, and sometimes they are equally evolved. So in bryophytes, one of these phase is more dominating over the another, and here you will see that the one phase is represented by the haploid, that is the whole all the stages are represented by the haploid cells, and since they are having only one set of chromosome, that is why they are denoted as N. And if they are diploid phase, then they are having the two sets of chromosome, that is the 2n. So these two are clearly distinct by this line. Their haploid phase is represented by the green one and the diploid phase is represented in the pink. So these are the continuous stages through which it passes through, and after completing these two phase, the life cycle of the plant is complete. So this is the representation of the life cycle of the Rixia actually. So here you see that it starts from the gametophyte haploid phase. This is the green photosynthetic phase, and plant body itself is represented by this dominating phase. And since gametophyte, gamete bearing plant, so the gametes are born upon this plant, and these gametes are born in the special structure that is called the gametangia. And these gametangia are of two kinds, Anthendium and the Archegonium. Anthendium is the male one, Archegonium is the female one. If both the structures, gamete producing structures, that is the Anthendium and Archegonium, they are born upon the same plant, they are called the Homothallic. And if they are having the male male gametophyte and the female gametophyte if bear it is Archegonium, and the male gametophyte bear the Anthendium, they are separate entity, then they will be called as heterothallic, isn't it? So likewise they have got the name. So here the thallus is homothallic because they are both the gametes are born by the same plant. Okay, then Anthendium produces the spermatozoa. That is why it is called zoa, because it is having the flagella. As we know that the water is very essential for the fertilization in bryophytes, so they are provided with the long flagella. This is the sperm or spermatozoa, and they are produced in the mucilaginous mass in the structure that is called the Anthendium. Okay, so at the mouth of the Anthendium, when they are released in the mucilaginous mass, they are washed out along with the raindrops or the water, and they reaches to this opening of the Archegonium. Here this is the lid cells that receives these sperms, okay, through the water, and this will swim through this canal like structure. That since these are having the neck canal cells, actually these are responsible for producing the mucilage or the liquid. When they gets matured, they gets disorganized, and they secrete the certain substance to attract the sperm to it. Okay, and here we can see that two important cells, that is the venter canal cells and the egg. So this Archegonium is having the neck and the venter, the two parts. The neck is having the neck canal cell, and in the venter there are two cells, that is the egg and the venter canal cells. This venter canal cell also gets disorganized at the time of fertilization, and so the two fusing cells, that is the gametes, the sperm nuclei and the egg, they fuse together to produce the zygote here. So from here the diploid phase begins. okay, the single cell structure, but it is the diploid in phase. Here you will mark that the spermatozoa, that is the male gamete or the female gamete, they are produced directly by mitosis, okay, not meiosis, because plant body itself is haploid, so meiosis is not here. Here also you see that as soon as the zygote is formed, as you see in the algae, if the zygote is formed in the lower algae, you see that they are directly undergo the reduction division, and whole the diploid cell is used to produce the meiospores, okay. But here what happened, the meiosis is delayed, that is that this is the diploid phase. Then after that it produces the sporangia, and sporangia is actually the spore bearing structure, and this is borne upon the sporophyte. Here you can have the look of the very simple sporophyte in the rixia, and these are the very simple structures. The here actually these are the venter, this is the venter part, so this has swollen and has converted into the sporophytic structure, that is the called the sporophyte in rixia, that's and also named as sporangia, and it is having these are the leaf like structures which are protecting it from being desiccated, and when they get mature then they are released, they releases the spores. Actually these are called the sporophyte because they bear the spores. Actually spores are formed within it. So in the beginning the whole mass is actually the sporogenous tissue or the sporogenous cells. These sporogenous cells are having the capacity to produce the fertile spores, but actually what happens, one cell is called the spore mother cell, okay, and this spore mother cell is actually the diploid in nature. By the process of meiosis they will form 4 haploid cells, that is called the spore tetrad, which are haploid in nature. And so these are the tetrads in blue color. But what are these in the pink color here? These are the called the as in the label here, elaters are actually the sterile cells in the sporogenous tissue. So their role is to just give the mobility to the sperm as well as mobility to the spores, as well as they nourish the developing spores. So in this way we see that in the sporogenous mass the whole sporogenous tissue is not utilized in producing spores, but some of the tissue is being utilized in forming this kind of structure, though they are non photosynthetic in the lower bryophytes. In higher bryophytes you will see at the mosses and other, they are having the well organized photosynthetic tissue, but still they are totally dependent upon the gametophytic mother plant, or in the mosses they will be the partially dependent upon the, but dependency will be there, mother plant पर इनकी dependency होगी because कि उनके nutrition और other things के लिए वो mother plant पे dependent होंगे. After that what happens, you see here the sporophyte plant is there, they are producing the sporangia. From the sporangia there is sporogenous tissue, spore mother cell is there, which are diploid in nature. After meiosis they will be producing the spores. From here the haploid phase again begins. But what happens in between the sporophyte and the gametophyte, there is a intermediate link that is called the protonema stage, isn't it? So this gives the high rate of multiplication, isn't it? Spores itself is having the high multiplication rate, but in spite of that, when the spore germinate, from each spore the multiple branched filament like structure, these are called the protonema. These first profusely grow and branched depending upon the nutrition and the conditions, and from here you will see the root like structures coming out, and from this the thallus is being grown here. So these are the gametophytic plant. One protonema can produce multiple number of gametophytic plants, since these are at the threat of desiccation and the other things are there, therefore their multiplication rate is very high. So in this way you see that in bryophytes the two generations, that is the gametophytic generation and the sporophytic generation, alters with each other. That is why it is called the alternation of generation, isn't it? So I think this whole picture becomes clear to you, and it will be helpful for you for getting the point and getting the this phenomenon clear. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.